What if women had the same rights as men from the very beginning of humanity? It's a simple question, yet it opens the door to a journey through time, a glimpse into a world where equality was always the rule, not the exception. How would our lives today be different? How would the course of human progress have been shaped by this fundamental shift? In this video, we'll take a fascinating journey into an alternate universe where the word equality was never a goal, to be achieved because it was always part of who we are. Get ready to uncover the profound and unexpected impact of a what-if scenario that could have rewritten the entire story of humanity. Accelerated technological advancement. Imagine a world where women had equal rights and opportunities from the very beginning of humanity. This single change would have created a ripple effect across history, especially in science and technology. Let's break it down. If women had always been granted the same access to education, research, and innovation as men, the scientific community would have doubled in size. We'd have seen an explosion of creativity and problem-solving like never before. Think about it. Figures like Ada Lovelace and Marie Curie made groundbreaking contributions despite facing immense challenges and systemic discrimination. But what if there had been thousands or even millions of women like them, actively participating in the progress of human civilization throughout history? Diseases that took centuries to cure, such as smallpox or polio, might have been eradicated in half the time. The discovery of antibiotics, vaccines, and even life-saving medical procedures could have happened generations earlier, saving countless lives. The effects wouldn't stop at medicine. Technologies like the printing press, the steam engine, or even the internet could have been developed decades, if not centuries earlier. Imagine how different our world would look today if space exploration had started in the 1800s instead of the 1900s. Colonizing Mars could be a reality right now, not just a distant dream. This accelerated progress would also change how these innovations were shared. With more diverse perspectives shaping technology, its distribution might have been more equitable. Countries and communities often left behind in our current timeline could have benefited earlier from advancements in energy, communication, and transportation. Moreover, with women involved in technology design from the start, many innovations could have been more inclusive and better suited to meet the needs of all of humanity. Who knows how many problems, social, economic, or environmental, could have been solved sooner with twice the brainpower tackling them? This isn't just a what-if question, it's a vision of what could have been. The potential of human progress when no one is left out of the equation is truly staggering. Societies more balanced and peaceful. If women had enjoyed equal rights since the dawn of humanity, our societies would likely be far more harmonious and cooperative today. Research consistently shows that gender equality correlates with reduced violence, greater political stability, and increased community well-being. It stands to reason that, in this alternate timeline, human history would have followed a less turbulent path. Historically, leadership has often been dominated by men, and many decisions, whether political or social, were made without the input of half the population. Now, imagine a world where, from the very beginning, decisions were shared equally. Women's perspectives, often rooted in empathy and collaboration, would have balanced the more competitive or hierarchical tendencies traditionally associated with male leadership. Wars might have been less frequent or less devastating. A balanced approach to conflict resolution could have fostered diplomacy over aggression, leading to a world where peace was the norm rather than the exception. Ancient societies like Sparta or the Iroquois Confederacy, where women played significant roles in governance, provide glimpses of this possibility. What if those examples weren't the exception but the rule? On a smaller scale, families and communities would have functioned differently. Shared responsibility between genders, whether in caregiving, decision-making, or labor, would have created a culture of mutual respect. Generations raised in such environments would likely grow up valuing diversity and cooperation, fostering social stability. This balance wouldn't just affect politics or households, it would reshape how we approach major global challenges. For instance, Studies show that when women participate in peace negotiations, agreements are 35% more likely to last at least 15 years. Now imagine that wisdom applied to every aspect of society, from climate change policies to economic reforms. Would this change lead to utopia? Perhaps not, but a world where collaboration and mutual respect are ingrained values from the start would undeniably be a better place for everyone. More prosperous economies. If women had enjoyed equal rights and opportunities since the start of humanity, the global economy would be unrecognizable today. The exclusion of women from education, leadership, and the workforce for most of history has cost humanity not just innovation, but untold economic growth. Let's explore what could have been different. For starters, the labor force would have doubled in size much earlier in history, with women contributing their skills and expertise across all industries. Imagine the agricultural revolutions, industrial developments, and technological booms driven by the combined creativity and problem-solving abilities of both genders. Entire sectors that relied on traditionally male-dominated labor would have advanced faster with the diverse insights and methods women could have brought. Leadership would have seen a similar transformation. Companies and governments often perform better when women are in positions of power because they bring unique perspectives, foster inclusive decision-making, and prioritize long-term sustainability. If this had always been the norm, the global economy would have been more resilient to crises, with greater wealth and stability across nations. Take the example of microloans, small financial credits often given to women in developing countries. Studies show these loans tend to yield higher returns as women reinvest in their families and communities. Now imagine this principle applied on a larger scale. If women had been equal economic participants from the start, global poverty rates might have plummeted generations ago, and inequality could be far less pervasive. Furthermore, the barriers to female entrepreneurship and innovation would never have existed. We've seen how women, when given the chance, can revolutionize fields from technology to healthcare. In this alternate timeline, businesses and inventions we can't even conceive of today could have flourished centuries earlier, transforming industries and creating wealth for countless generations. Lastly, the gender pay gap, a persistent issue today, might never have been a problem. Equal pay for equal work from the outset would have created fairer societies, reducing economic disparities and fostering stronger consumer economies. With more disposable income in women's hands, economies would have thrived, as women are statistically more likely to invest in education, healthcare, and local businesses. In a world where everyone had an equal chance to contribute to economic growth, the prosperity we experience today would likely pale in comparison to what could have been. Shifts in gender roles. If women had been granted equal rights from the start, the rigid gender roles we know today would likely never have existed. The very idea of assigning tasks or societal expectations based solely on gender might have been replaced with a more flexible and inclusive understanding of human potential. In this alternate reality, men and women would share responsibilities both in and out of the home. Domestic work, caregiving, and professional ambitions wouldn't be seen as the domain of one gender, but as shared human experiences. A father taking parental leave or a mother leading a high-powered corporation would feel as ordinary as the sunrising. Cultural norms around parenting would also be profoundly different. Children would grow up seeing a balance of roles in their households, which would influence how they view relationships, work, and equality. Boys would learn empathy and collaboration from an early age, while girls would never feel the weight of societal limitations on their ambitions. Traditional career paths would also look vastly different. Fields historically dominated by one gender, like nursing or engineering, would be evenly balanced, reflecting individual talents rather than stereotypes. Imagine a world where it was never unusual to see women as construction workers or men as preschool teachers. Such diversity would foster innovation, as people brought unique perspectives to roles they might not have previously considered. Even cultural expressions, movies, literature, art, would shift dramatically. Narratives about breaking the mold or defying stereotypes wouldn't exist because those molds and stereotypes never would have formed. Instead, stories would focus on the shared experiences and triumphs of individuals, rather than the barriers they had to overcome because of their gender. By removing the concept of predefined gender roles, society would have evolved to value people for their abilities, passions, and contributions, regardless of gender. This flexibility would create a culture that prioritizes individuality and collaboration over conformity, leading to a more dynamic and fulfilling way of life for everyone, a richer cultural and artistic landscape. If women had always enjoyed equal rights, the world's cultural and artistic heritage would be vastly different and likely far richer. Women's voices, perspectives, and creative contributions would have shaped literature, art, music, and storytelling from the very beginning, creating a tapestry of human expression that fully reflected the diversity of experiences. In our current timeline, many women's contributions to culture have been overlooked or erased entirely. Yet, when women were allowed to participate, their influence was profound. Think of authors like Jane Austen or Toni Morrison, whose works challenged societal norms, or musicians like Clara Schumann, whose compositions rivaled those of her male counterparts. Now imagine a history where such brilliance wasn't the exception, but the norm. This alternate reality would likely feature a broader range of stories and perspectives in literature and film. Instead of predominantly male heroes or patriarchal narratives, we'd see a balance of protagonists that reflect the diverse struggles and triumphs of humanity. Folktales and myths passed down through generations would include equal representation of women as warriors, inventors, and leaders. These stories would influence how societies view gender, instilling respect for all contributions from an early age. Visual arts would also evolve. The traditional male gaze that shaped much of classical art would be balanced by works reflecting women's perspectives. Imagine how different the Renaissance, for instance, might have been if women like Artemisia Gentileschi weren't outliers, but celebrated equals alongside Michelangelo and Leonardo da Vinci. In music, too, women's equal involvement could have produced entirely new genres and styles, blending influences and expanding the emotional depth of compositions. Imagine the impact of millions of women creating, performing, and innovating freely over centuries. Music might not just sound different, but resonate with a deeper, more inclusive understanding of the human experience. Lastly, this cultural diversity would ripple into education and representation. Museums, history books, and classrooms would tell a fuller story of humanity, celebrating contributions from every corner of society. This cultural inclusivity would help create a more empathetic and connected global community. With women's contributions equally celebrated, culture and art would transcend boundaries, reflecting not just fragments of human experience, but its full, vibrant spectrum. Throughout history, the exclusion of women from equal opportunities has cost humanity dearly, stifling progress, limiting perspectives, and creating unnecessary barriers. But what if things had been different? A world with equality from the start would have seen incredible advancements in technology, more peaceful societies, booming economies, balanced gender roles, and an artistic and cultural legacy that truly reflects the richness of human diversity. Now it's your turn to reflect. Do you agree with these conclusions? Are there other possibilities we didn't explore? Share your thoughts in the comments. We'd love to hear your perspective. If you found this video thought-provoking, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the channel. And while you're here, check out the video appearing on your screen right now for more fascinating discussions.